I was raised in a household where faith and reason walked hand in hand, and I took great pride in my work as a researcher in astrophysics. My name is Dr. Robert Hayes, and throughout my career, I have sought to reconcile the intricate laws of nature with the mysteries of faith. I taught at a respected university, conducted experiments with precision, and contributed to scientific debates that often left little room for the supernatural. Yet, nothing in my carefully ordered life could have prepared me for the night when I stepped beyond the bounds of empirical certainty and found myself face to face with a reality I had long considered beyond the realm of scientific inquiry. It was a cold winter evening during a research conference when a sudden, inexplicable health crisis struck me. I remember leaving the banquet hall, still abuzz with academic chatter, when a searing pain seized my chest. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the pavement outside the building, my vision fading, and my mind caught between consciousness and oblivion. In those final moments, I recalled the teachings of the Church, the words of the saints, and the scientific fact that the brain, under duress, can conjure illusions. I dismissed such notions until I experienced something that no rational explanation could account for. In what seemed to be an endless descent, I felt my soul slip from the confines of my body. I floated above the scene of my collapse, observing the world below as if it were a distant memory. There was a moment of peace, a fleeting glimpse of calm that I once believed belonged solely to the realm of scientific reductionism. But then, the atmosphere around me began to shift. The light dimmed to a cold, lifeless gray, and I found myself drawn toward a swirling mass of shadows that beckoned with an almost magnetic pull. Before I could muster any scientific explanation, I entered a realm that defied all logic, a place that I would later understand to be hell. I had always accepted, as a matter of faith, the Church's teaching that hell exists as a state of eternal separation from God, yet I had never imagined that I would witness it firsthand. In this place, the very laws of physics seemed to falter. There was no measurable temperature, no gravity to cling to an overwhelming oppressive force that pressed upon my spirit. I wandered through a desolate landscape where the remnants of suffering souls appeared as faint silhouettes against a backdrop of endless torment. It was as if the air itself was saturated with despair. I could see countless figures, each lost in their own cycle of agony. Their faces were contorted not merely by pain, but by a profound grief that spoke of opportunities squandered and repentance unfulfilled. I remember one figure in particular, a man whose eyes were filled with a desperate longing, as if he reached out for salvation that would never come. It struck me then that every soul here was marked by the weight of unatoned sin, a burden that no scientific measurement could quantify. Even as I observed this horrific scene, my rational mind attempted to analyze the phenomenon. I recalled the neurology of near-death experiences, the chemical surges and oxygen deprivation that can trigger vivid hallucinations. But nothing in my education could account for the clarity and consistency of what I was experiencing. This was no mere dream or fevered illusion. Every detail, the acrid stench of sulfur, the oppressive darkness punctuated by flickering, ethereal flames, the sounds of anguished cries carried by a cold wind was undeniable. In the midst of this infernal panorama, I began to sense a presence that contrasted sharply with the pervasive misery. There was an intensity in the despair, yes, but also a subtle, almost imperceptible glimmer of hope that radiated from the souls who still clung to their humanity. I heard whispers, as if carried on the wind, of forgotten prayers and the persistent call for redemption. I realized that even here, the promise of divine mercy had not been entirely extinguished. It was a paradox that challenged the rigid dichotomy I had once believed existed between the measurable world and the realm of faith. I found myself approaching a narrow path, lined with what appeared to be dim, flickering candles, each one representing a prayer offered in the world above. As I followed the path, the anguished cries grew softer, replaced by a palpable silence that resonated with the power of intercession. I encountered a small group of souls gathered around a makeshift altar, their eyes closed in prayer, their voices united in a quiet, almost desperate plea for forgiveness. One of them, an elderly woman with a serene expression despite the torment etched on her face, opened her eyes and met mine for a brief moment. In that silent exchange, I felt an overwhelming compassion, a mutual recognition of shared humanity and the yearning for salvation. In that moment, the dichotomy between my scientific rigor and my Catholic faith blurred. I had always believed that the universe was governed by immutable laws, but here I witnessed a profound truth, that the cosmos also obeyed the laws of grace and redemption. I began to understand that hell was not simply a place of punishment, but a realm where the consequences of free will converged with the mysteries of divine justice. The souls around me were not merely damned, they were in the process of being purified, their suffering serving as both penance and a silent entreaty for mercy from those still able to pray on their behalf. A figure emerged from the darkness, a man whose eyes were haunted by regret and yet burned with a flicker of determination. He spoke in a voice that trembled with both pain and conviction, sharing his story of how he had once been a brilliant scientist, much like myself, driven by the relentless pursuit of knowledge. "I questioned everything," he said, his words echoing in the desolate space. "I believe that only what we can measure is real. But here, I see the consequences of choices made in ignorance of God's mercy." His testimony struck a chord deep within me, challenging my long-held assumptions. I listened as he recounted how his ambition had led him to neglect the spiritual dimensions of life, and how his downfall had ultimately brought him to this place of suffering and hope. I found myself drawn into conversation with this man, whose words transcended the boundaries of empirical data. He described his journey into hell as a trial process of confronting the harsh realities of his own moral failings. Yet, even amidst the unending torment, he insisted that there was hope. "Every prayer, every act of genuine contrition in the world above sends a beam of light into this darkness," he murmured. "It is a call for us to change, to seek the mercy that we once denied." His words, though simple, resonated with the deepest parts of my soul. The experience in hell lasted for what felt like both an eternity and a mere moment. As I began to feel a subtle pull, a gentle tug that beckoned me back toward the realm of the living, I understood that my time in that infernal place was drawing to a close. The voices of the suffering faded into the background, replaced by a rising crescendo of light and warmth that promised salvation. I felt myself being lifted, not by force, but by a divine compassion that I had never before encountered. When I awoke in the hospital, surrounded by the beeping of monitors and the concerned faces of colleagues and loved ones, I knew that my life had been irrevocably altered. The experience left me with an unquenchable desire to share what I had witnessed, not as a tale of terror, but as a testament to the reality of divine justice and mercy. I returned to my work with a newfound humility, determined to bridge the gap between scientific inquiry and the profound mysteries of faith. My lectures now included not only the latest empirical discoveries, but also reflections on the spiritual dimensions of existence. I spoke openly about my journey into hell, carefully recounting the vivid images of suffering souls and the undeniable presence of divine intercession that I had experienced. I explained how the scientific community often dismisses near-death experiences as mere hallucinations, yet I argued that my encounter defied such reductive explanations. It was a melding of science and spirituality, a reminder that our understanding of the universe remains incomplete without acknowledging the transcendent mysteries that lie beyond empirical observation. In sharing my testimony, I received both skepticism and heartfelt support. Many of my colleagues in the scientific field questioned the veracity of my account, attributing it to the effects of a compromised brain under duress. Yet others found in my story a resonance with their own unspoken doubts about a purely materialistic worldview. For me, the experience was not about abandoning reason, but about expanding it to include the possibility that there are realms of existence that transcend the measurable. I continue to advocate for an integrated approach that respects the rigor of scientific methodology while remaining open to the transformative power of faith. My journey into hell has become a cornerstone of my personal and professional life, a constant reminder that even the most rational minds are not immune to the call of divine grace. The images of suffering, the voices of the tormented, and the quiet, persistent hope of those who remain in a state of purification have all left an indelible mark on my soul. What I saw in that abyss has transformed my understanding of morality, justice, and the nature of redemption. I now see that every scientific discovery, every breakthrough in understanding the natural world, is intertwined with the eternal truths of faith. The laws of nature, as I have come to believe, are not separate from the laws of the divine. They are but one facet of a grander, more mysterious reality. I urge everyone, whether they stand at the crossroads of science and faith or have yet to question the limitations of human understanding, to remain open to the possibility that there is more to life than what can be measured. My experience in hell, as harrowing as it was, taught me that every soul has the potential for redemption if it is met with genuine contrition and the steadfast power of intercessory prayer. In the interplay between our mortal choices and divine mercy lies the true wonder of existence.